So I've been mulling over an idea for a new video game for the wrestling genre. We have wrestling titles such as WWE 2K16, the WWE Games franchise. You have Wrestling Revolution and Wrestling Revolution 3D. You have 5-Star Wrestling on the PS3 and PS4. You have TEW, which people have begged me to play forever, 2010, 2013. Finally, there's a 2K16 version out. Give me a hell yeah if you want to see some TEW gameplay. People have just been begging me for years and years since I started back in 2011, and I always said no because it was text-based, but then I tried the 16 demo and thought, okay, I could try this. But tell me, what is your grand idea? Is it something that's so unique and so crazy that it's never been thought of? No. The idea and the plot and the whole rationale behind my video game does make it a little bit hard to include in so many different companies or so many legitimate options, but I definitely think it could either work or you could go the fictional route of Wrestling Revolution or TEW. So tell me, what are you running? What are your ideas? What are your thoughts on this wrestling video game? Well, I've said this for a long time that it would be cool if you could start in the indies and work your way up to the main event, right? Okay, WWE Games did that. They introduced the Performance Center. You can now start at NXT, and then you eventually move your way up from superstars to main event. That's fine. It's well within a confined WWE game. WWE wouldn't be putting other promotions in their own video game. I'm cool with that. But let's say there was a promotion that basically took what WWE Games does now, and I'm not sure if it would be actually wrestling or more of a booking type situation or what. I would like to see it be an actual game because I would like to see the mechanics of it. But something where you start before your indie days. There'd be cinematics, so this would probably push it to too big of a budget game, and I don't think they would ever waste their money doing something like this. But you either started off as a game similar to TEW, where it's very low maintenance, or Wrestling Revolution 3D, where it's mainly screens that tell the story and tell the action and provide that gameplay for you. While they still have gameplay in Wrestling Revolution 3D, a lot of it comes down to the actual booking and everything that goes into it. So you start off with a cinematic, and you're basically going through that you want to be a wrestler. Maybe they show some cutscenes of you in front of a TV with your little created character from when you were a kid growing up. And then finally, you turn 18, or whenever you want to start it. You could choose. Do you want to be a late-in-life wrestler? Do you want to try starting at 25, at 30? Do you want to start training in the backyard wrestling promotions? Maybe you throw in a backyard gimmick. And in the video game, there's a backyard wrestling arena. You start from there. Or you can choose to actually go to a school based on costs, whether it's microtransactions or DLC. So you could get a freemium game, and then it determines where do you want to go. Okay, do I want to just do backyard wrestling? Okay, that's free and doesn't cost anything, and you could put on shows and you could actually make money. Do you want to spend a little bit of extra money and just go to the Joe Blow wrestling school down the street with a coach that, well, he's probably never going to be there, and it's his assistants are teaching the class? Or do you want to spend a bunch of money and go to a school like Bubba Ray and Devon's Team 3D Academy? Or do you want to go the route of being an indie star? Hell, skip all the training and just jump right to the big... Okay, you're not going to do that. But basically, you start from conception. You pick where you're going to go. You decide if you're going to be a wrestler, when you're going to be a wrestler, because that also determines your opportunities. So let's say in life that you wanted to now, let's say you are 32 years old and you want to become a professional wrestler. Well, okay, you're going to go to school, but that's going to limit your options. Say you have a family. Maybe if it's text-based, because it would be a lot easier text-based. If it's a real-life game, it'd be way too complex, open world. But let's say you're 32. You have a family. It makes it hard, so you can't go to all the shows. So let's say in the calendar, when you're getting booked for these no-name indie shows, or maybe you sign these indie promotions for a licensing deal for their names, and you have to choose. Okay, I can be with my family on this weekend, or I can wrestle on Thursday, Friday. And then you could pick your dates. Really simple. If you only have X amount of dates, you could try to fill your calendar. Or you could do things that could help raise your booking ability. So you go to school, you're getting trained. You do the training. The training you get at this wrestling school affects what you do later on in the wrestling world. If you're a biggest standout and you go the WWE NXT route with no training, it offers way more benefits, but it may take you a lot longer, and you may become frustrated. You may become the next Enzo Amore, where you skip all the way to WWE NXT from the Performance Center. You have no training outside of the ring. Your social media mentions are constantly just berating you, just like Eve Marie. The interactions of, oh, he can't wrestle, he can't do this, and it builds against you, and you're trying to prove him wrong. So in the training game, you're trying to get high scores because you're proving these people, the guy that didn't have any moves, any knowledge to do anything, can become the next Enzo Amore. Charisma, character, personality, everything that goes into it. Okay, you have that. You go those routes. You choose your wrestling school or straight to the Performance Center, right? The Performance Center would probably have to be really costly, or you'd have to probably do something really big to get noticed. Maybe you choose to go down the professional athlete route. Well, by going the professional athlete route, you're more confined to your ways based on training or listening to your coaches. If you're an independent guy, you who's a star, you may be a little slower to the change. Your pushes may not happen as fast in WWE because you basically have to relearn everything in the WWE style. Or do you go to a WWE-affiliated school that kind of already somewhat teaches what WWE is looking for, like Lance Storm's Team 3D, possibly Booker T's ROW, something like that. But that's the thing. There's cost. There's decisions for everything going into it. Because, yes, it doesn't necessarily matter where you were trained to be a wrestler, but it affects your way up, your comeuppance, and what you do. So you go to the school, you do your gimmick. You're now a wrestler. It's now time to get booked. So you have a calendar. And based on the school you went to, or the things you did, or recommendations from your coaches, say Booker T has a glowing recommendation, well, that's going to go a lot farther than Tim Meadows wrestling school down in Florida, who wrestled one day in WCW and thinks he's a fucking star now. But if you go that way, it's more rewarding. It's more of an underdog story, Daniel Bryan-esque from the bottom, even though he was trained by HBK. It's bigger. It's better. Nobody ever thought he would be here. So you can pick your levels. You can probably say 7 different starting levels, either by age or by career profession. You do your job, and then you start to get booked on these indie shows, and you start looking for shows, and you have to start making decisions. Where am I wrestling? Okay, I'm trying to wrestle everywhere. And then it brings up, okay, well, gas, food, and everything else is $50, and you're only going to make $75. Is it worth it for you to drive that far for $75? Once you start to get up there, you can start to basically ransom your way. Say you're an indie star, you're the top guy, you're the young bucks. Everybody's trying to book you. I want a first-class flight. I don't want a flight coach anymore. Okay, but if you do that, your demands start to go up. And as many bookers probably aren't going to book you unless those shows that you're doing are putting on 5-star matches that are getting those crowds going crazy, that your social media interaction is blowing up. The fan exposure is going through the roof. Your booking fees are going up, up, and up. WWE is finally noticing you. You finally get that WWE tryout or fake big wrestling promotion. You finally have that. You're in the room like the NXT Performance Center. You're doing the workout drills. You're running around. You're doing your stuff. The full life of a wrestler. Maybe you shoot some indie promos and see if they go up on like a fake YouTube-esque website. Maybe you see other stuff happen. But I have to be honest, I'm pretty excited about this. I think WWE or any wrestling company could do this big. Like I said, it would be a lot, and it would probably end up being more text-esque based game because it might be a little too hard for video. I know it would be way too hard if you look at a game like 2K16, what it all encompasses. And I don't think the WWE genre is ever worth enough money to put this much money into a product. But I had messaged M. Dickey and a couple other guys asking, like, realistically, give me a price on this. Like, if I could do it text-based, Grace, Dog Software-esque from TEW, I totally probably could. And you could come up with so many scenarios in the game. All right? Break legs, have to train for a month. Maybe you have a dad simulator where you're sitting at home. I don't know. Maybe this could just be one of the wrestling simulator games where it's a lot more fake. It's a lot more, you're not going to get the quality action in the ring with the physics and everything, but you incorporate every little bit into it. Maybe it's a game kind of like TW, but you can wrestle the matches inside an actual game. Maybe you could create a mod in a WWE game that takes those matches and compiles a score and then inputs it into your game. I don't know. Like I said, it's a big budget project, and it probably won't happen, but just I constantly hear coming from the indies to the main show. Well, yeah, but how did they get there? What was their journey like? Where did they go to wrestling school? If they skipped wrestling school, what was it like having to deal with everybody constantly saying, you're in WWE, no training. I can't believe they signed you instead of the Young Bucks. What the fuck? Well, you don't know if that person has got the work ethic and determination. If you choose to go right to the WWE Performance Center, you might get rided forever. You might be working out 6 months to a year and never see the inside of a ring. I don't know. A lot of possibilities can happen. But that's the narrative I've always seen. Let's see, from the indies to the main roster to superstar. Now, WWE Games has kind of done a little bit better job with my career. They definitely do need to step it up this year, and I'm excited to see what they do for my career. But with those relationships they're forming, eventually I could see WWE have working relationships with Progress, Rev Pro, and Evolve. So eventually you could have that inside a WWE video game. A very simple 3-promotion thing where instead of NXT, you could either choose to be a part of the NXT class or you could go to Evolve. You could shine your skills at Rev Pro. This is Progress. You could control, even if it's 3 promotions, that's the indies. That's not WWE. WWE could do that and utilize the Evolve branding, the name, etc. They could use Gabe Sapolsky as that feeder system. I think WWE would be smart to do something like that, where it doesn't make sense to put Ring of Honor in your WWE video game, but it makes sense the ones you have a working relationship with to put them in and get them a little extra exposure on how they're going to get into the WWE. I think it would be kind of interesting, and I'd love to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. What more would you add to this? Instead of just coming from the indies and choosing, how old you are, if you start early, late, how much damage you're going to do to your body. You'll have to make decisions about possibly retiring because of the condition of your body, having to choose between shoulder surgery, healthy alternatives. I don't know. I think the actual WWE video game itself could learn some of these lessons and bring them in, hopefully with some of the relationships they form now. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of that idea, and if you want me to play TEW, give me a hell yeah. HBK, good job.